the JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where music and life connects. Let's go.
Okay, so now we're recording. We're good.
All right.
I'm here with Al Walker from the Wailin Walker Band. We've known each other for quite a few years, and you're gonna answer a bunch of the questions that I have. Because let's just get right into it. So,
okay.
I was a kid when we met, but you had, what was it, late 70s? It was the House Rockers. Was your first group?
Wailin Walker and the House Rockers came up in East Vancouver and living out in Burnaby as well, and dealing with I had a motorcycle accident in the late 70s, or even when I was like 21 years old, I had a bike accident, and it was pretty bad, but broke both my legs, broke my neck, broke my
holy
jaw, and all kinds of shit. So got through that, and we were riding bikes a lot of Harleys going on in those days when I was about 18 to 24. Before that, we were playing in bands and stuff like that in school, and doing that whole bit, and kind of took a break from that and got right into the biker scene. And we were up country. There was about 19 of us or 20 of us, and we were up country, and it was like 1976, something like that, and we pulled into Kelowna. Kelowna was just a tiny little village, and we were basically running the place there with the guys on the west side. All the band guys were living there. Not band guys, but guys on the reserve were living there and all riding. We were living with them down on the old ferry dock there on the river, on the lake, and just having a great time. And we heard on the jukebox in town at the nightclub, we heard the jukebox came on and the Cars were playing on there. I just You're All I Want Tonight and everything. We were partying it up there with all the locals and all the gals and everything, having a fine time. And George Thorogood comes on. Never heard him before. We just hear this "Move It On Over," right? The big hit, and went, holy shit, that's crazy. So I looked at my buddy Ed, who we rode up together, and he was the drummer in my old band when we were teenagers. And we were doing like Muddy Waters tunes and, I'm ready as anybody can be and stuff like that when we were kids. And I said, Jesus Christ, listen to that. The guy's playing he's playing like shuffle blues, man. I mean, that's the shit we used to play when we were kids. When we get back to town, we should start our own band again and get back out there and start playing. So we agreed we were going to do that. He was my old drummer and all that stuff. And so we went for a couple of rides up into the interior. Kelowna was kind of our hub, and so we went up, and he ended up going down behind me in a terrible bike accident, and he broke his back and paralyzed himself from the midsection down. So we had to get over that and get him home, and it was terrible. And he's still very much alive, and he's super inspiration to us all. Along with Jim Burns, of course, who's been in the same predicament of sorts as well. These guys just are incredible inspirations to people like you and I, of course, to get in there and do what we do. But Ed wasn't able to be my drummer anymore, so we mourned and helped him get through a situation. But at some point, about a year later, I moved on musically and decided that I would do something. That's how the House Rockers were born. There was always Hound Dog Taylor in the House Rockers. So to take the name, I always felt you had to put your name in front of. So it'd be James Rogers and the House Rockers, Wailin Walker and the House Rockers. But you couldn't just call yourself the House Rockers, because that would be sacrilege, right? So that's how Wailin Walker and the House Rockers was born. We put an ad in the buy and sell, the old what Craigslist is now, used to be a paper called the Buy and Sell, looking for a bass player, and we got a jazz string bass jazz player, Chris Noel, who showed up, And Rex and I had been playing for years, learning all kinds of stuff back when we were like younger. And so him and I were just a natural to get together. So we added Chris, and I love playing in trios, as you probably do as well. And they're just the freedom. It's all about freedom. With me, it's riding motorcycles, playing music. I don't want to be told to turn down. I don't want to be told what to play. I just want it's freedom and to express what I want to do when I want to do it. So it fit perfectly in with what I was doing. So, but one of the first gigs we got was opening for George Thorogood of all things. After hearing him doing "Moving On Over," we ended up opening for him at the Commodore, and that was a good show. Went over really well, and that's what kicked everything off all of a sudden. And after that, we just basically became, I don't know, a lot of people use this term loosely, but we became the house band of the Commodore, and we were opening for everybody from Johnny Winter to Stevie Ray to Leslie West to Bryan Adams to Nazareth, Steppenwolf, John Lee Hooker, and that was just with the House Rockers, and then that opened up with the Wailin Demons with Jack Lavin, which opened a whole bunch more. It just got massive. I think we have played. I know I have played in the Commodore at over 75 times. I've played at the Commodore, opening or playing for somebody. And it's funny because the fellow that wrote the book on the Commodore, he also wrote the book on the Clark Park gang, the last gang in town, Aaron Chapman. When he was writing the book, the last gang in town, the guys were telling him, well, you got to talk to Al Walker about that because he knows about that, because I grew up in East Van and I knew guys in the Clark Park group as well, and went to school with a bunch of others. And so he approached me, he said, these guys all say you're the guy to talk to when it comes to Clark Park. So I said, sure, I'll meet you downtown and you can ask me whatever you want, So before we started talking, I said, first I got a bone to pick with you. And he said, well, what's that? And I said, well, you wrote this great big thick book about the Commodore, right? And he said, yeah. I said, well, congratulations. He said, well, thanks a lot. I said, I just got to tell you one thing. We played there over 75 times. We were the house band opening up for everybody. And you didn't include me in the book, not one word. And he looked at me like, surprised and kind of like, whoa. But I just said, no, I don't care. It doesn't give a shit whether you write me about me or not. It doesn't matter at all. It's just that if you want to get the history straight. So I know maybe if he ever does a reprint, he'll do it. He's a good guy. We're good friends. And I told him all about the Clark Park stuff that I knew about as well at the time, because we were at the Rolling Stones riot. We were there in '72. We skipped out of school and went down there early so we could get down there. And as soon as the cops showed up and started throwing like gas around there in the air, it was like cheese it, right? And we like just fucked off and got out of there. But yeah, it goes back a long time. It's 50 years this year, 50 years for me that I've been doing my own gigs and gigging, period, like professionally playing. It's been 50 years this year exactly, wow. Which is insane, right? And so your timing to ask me about this is good because there's so much going through my mind. And they're talking about doing a documentary. There's talk about an album, 50 years of Wailin Walker and things like that. But, for anybody that knows the story and was part of the story, because so many people came to those concerts, so many people, were involved in it, and involved in what I was doing. And that progressed as we went farther, as well. So.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. So you're talking about like all these gigs you did at the Commodore. Now, I remember you telling me some stories when I guess it would have been early 80s. You would know the year better than I would, when you opened up for Stevie Ray Vaughan, and you kind of told me the story on that front.
Yeah, there's the story of Stevie Ray that I tell to a lot of people, and a lot of people were there. A lot of guitar players that are very good guitar players these days were there, saw those shows. everybody that was anybody was there. But let me tell you the whole story, including the parts that I've never really told, because they're worth telling. It started with a promoter named Barry Samuels, who approached me and said, I want to get together with you and talk. And I said, sure. So we went out for drinks, and he ran down that he wanted to go down to Columbia Records and go down to LA, and I think somewhere in Texas, because what was happening at the time, and I knew this and he knew this, it's that George Thorogood was the guy at the time. Johnny Winter was with Columbia Records and was the big draw, and he was the rock and roll act, but we all knew that he was mainly a killer blues player, and he started doing Rolling Stones covers and stuff, which got him into the rock and roll thing. And all the 70s kids, we wanted rock and roll, of course. So that was great. Now that was petering out for Johnny. Johnny was going to be leaving Columbia. He went to Alligator. He hooked up with his mentors, Muddy Waters and things like that, as we know. But he was gone. So it's kind of the king was sort of off of the throne. So the king had to be replaced. So Barry thought no better than to go with the Wailin Walker and the House Rocker album. We had an album called Rocket Day and Night that was out on vinyl. And he was going to take it and he was going to pitch it to Columbia. And I said, geez, Barry, thank you. We really appreciate it. But we have a hard time playing in the nightclubs, because all of a sudden people with Dayton boots and black leather jackets would show up, and the clubs were scared to entertain those people. And it's mainly because the cops would come down on the nightclubs and say, if you cater to those people or let those people with colors on or Daytons or black vests, then we're going to take your liquor license away. So they kind of blackmail them, right? That's what happened. So the club looks like big shits and telling everybody there's a dress code. So this was happening. And so Barry looks at me, he says, I don't give a fuck who you play for or what clubs you can get into and what you can't get into. We want you to be playing the Coliseums. We want you to play in the Coliseums all over the world. We want you to be like ZZ Top, which was kind of newer at the time, but still had a couple of 3 albums out. And we went, wow, that sounds cool. So Barry took my album, he took it down there, he pitched it to Columbia, he talked with John Hammond Sr., he talked with the record reps and everything down there, and they loved the album. So the next week, Barry called me, he says, I'm back. I just got back. I want to meet with you. I said, okay, great. I was really excited. All right. So we get together. He sits down. He says, okay, here's the deal. They loved your stuff. They really like what you're doing. They really like it a lot. But they're going with this new young guy who just told David Bowie to fuck off. And I went, what? He what? Yeah. And they sent this. This is his new album. And they gave me Stevie Ray's first album. And it was a demo. It had a punched hole in the top of it. And I grabbed it and I went, nah. And I put it beside the table, kind of disgruntled, right? Well, no, he said, but they're really interested, Alan. We took a good shot and they know who you are. So we'll keep trying. Don't worry about it. Okay. 4 months go by. Periscope was the big promoter at the time that put on all the big shows in town. Norm Perry calls me at home. He says, hey, Al, Norm Perry. I said, hey, nice to hear from you. What's going on? And we'd done like quite a few shows up until then. We'd been doing Eric Bird and the Animals and stuff, opening for them at the Commodore. So we kept up our viewpoint in front of the public. And we'd done the Johnny Winter show, which went over really big as well. And Steve Newton wrote us up on that and everything, gave us glowing review. So Norm's on the phone. He says, I got this guy. He's like this Texas guitar man, guitar whiz out of Texas. And he's coming, and right away I'm clicking. I'm going, oh, I know who this is. This is the guy whose album I've got, sitting that I've listened to. And by the way, I went home and I listened to that album. And at the time, my stereo at home was a 100-watt Marshall on the left side and a 50-watt Marshall stack on the right side with a dual turntable in the middle. And so I took the album after I got it from Barry. I took it home and I was all disgruntled. I went, yeah, let's hear this guy. I bet he can't play his way out of a paper bag. And I put it on and Rude Mood came on. I went, holy shit. And I listened to the whole album, and I went, fuck, this guy's fucking great, really good, right? So anyway, so now we've got this situation, and Norm's saying that this guy's a Texas guy out of Texas, and he told David Bowie to fuck off. I'm going, holy cow, it's got to be the same guy. Would you like to do the shows? And I said, sure. He says, 2 shows on the one night, and then 2 shows in Victoria. And I said, okay, 2 shows on the same night? He said, yeah, we're bringing people in, sending them out, and then you go over to Victoria on the ferry with them, and you play the Royal Theatre, 2 shows back to back. So, okay, sounds great. So we had 3 months before the show to prepare. So I phoned the guys up and I said, hey, you know that guy that we didn't get signed because they're signing him, the Stevie Ray Vaughan fella? Well, we're opening up for him, 4 shows. Okay, we start rehearsals next week. 3 months, we rehearse 3 times a week for 3 months, 3 times a week, 4 hours per rehearsal. Slick, tight, just a power trio. That's what we did. And when we came on at the Commodore, and people kind of were half hearing about Stevie Ray, they were coming to see us. Everybody and their dog was there. Every guitar player in town was there. Patting me on the back, we wish you well, we wish you well. But basically they were thinking, I wish it was me, wish it was me that was doing this, but that's okay, whatever. So, we met up with Stevie, met his guitar tech, and Stevie was there, and the Dumbles were there. They were on the stage, and he was doing a sound check. It was like, holy shit, it was just like a roar. So I had Kelly DeYoung, who was the big sound guys at the time, and Cayenne Sound did the front. And they were all our pals. So it was like, look, I'm going to need a rig on this thing. I really am. So I ran 3 super reverbs and a 600-watt PV into 4 12s. That's what I ran as well. And Chris, the bass player, played 3 SVTs, 3 heads with 3 10-inch, 810 cabinets, 3 of them. So I was really into biamping amplifiers at the time, and that's for everybody that's listening. That's taking 2 amps, the 1 amp you're feeding into the other amp, and then you're taking a line out of that amp, and it basically overdrives the secondary amp, and that gives you a really good starting point on an overdrive. Jeff Beck let the secret out many, many years, but it just made sense to biamp amplifier. So I biamped at that time. I biamped my amplifier. It was huge sounding. I was very happy with it. Used an old tube screamer, of course, and a wah pedal, with it, and played a Stratocaster. And we had his album, but he had no idea what was waiting for him in Vancouver. And he'd been playing Montreux and got booed at Montreux. And it was just after that he came back to North America, and the Vancouver show was the first one he did before he went across Canada. But I remember I was listening to Jack talk about him too. I mean, the actual commitment that he had to everything and to just keep going was very noticeable. Not much of a personality happening, not much of schmoozing going on. Head down, playing the guitar, practicing the guitar all the time. He did take time to talk to me. There was a lot of, we were the same age, so there was a lot of, I guess, jealousy or, whatever was going on there, push and pull. And he took time. He took time with David Gogo. David was very, very young, and I had David there. David was there with his Stetson on and hanging around, and I introduced him to Stevie and brought him into the fold with us so that he could hang out. And Stevie really appreciated meeting him and took a lot of time with him as well. So we're pretty well living with these guys, and we did the first opening show. We got an encore, and what happened then was they would take the first show. There was 1,500 people in the Commodore. I mean, now they might go maybe 500 to 700. That's it. Yeah. 1,500 ticketed people on the first show.
Wow.
They came in at 7 o'clock, and at 9 o'clock, everybody was let out. You got to leave. There was a lineup around the block, and then another 1,500 came in afterwards. Right. So we finished. We got an encore. We actually got 2 encores. We couldn't do the second one. There was no time because the second group of people were going to have to come in. So after we did the second show, right after we finished the encore of the second show, I came backstage and I was standing backstage and just waiting. And I was just like, this had been 2 sets now. And we were just gunning. We were doing stuff like, the Hendrix tunes. We dedicated Hustle Down in Texas, which is a Johnny Winter tune. We dedicated to Tommy Shannon because Tommy Shannon had been Johnny Winter's bass player for years in the Progressive Blues Experiment right all the way through. So here he was playing with Stevie Ray Vaughan. So we dedicated that to him. Anyhow, I was standing there on the side of the stage just panting and just sweat just pouring off me. And I just hear behind me, "You're just as good as him, you know." And I turn around and it's Bryan Adams. Right. And Brian's standing there in his black leather jacket. And I said, "Hey, Brian, how you doing, man?" I'd never met Brian before. Shook his hand and he said, "Oh, you guys sound great, man. I've been here for both shows and I'm just hanging out." And I asked him how he was doing, if he was staying out of trouble, not falling into the drug trap. Because, you got to remember, it's like 1983 or something like that, right? The cocaine had hit Vancouver in the biggest way, right? So finish that. Now we got a day off and now we're on the ferry traveling over there with Stevie and Chris Layton and Tommy Shannon. We're heading over. Well, there's a thing that happens, and you've been around a lot of different players, a lot of famous people. When you're around famous people, it's hard to think of something to say because you don't know what to say. So what I do just normally, and this has happened from everybody from Buddy Guy to Johnny Winter to Junior Watson to Boz Scaggs even, I give my opinions and I give them advice on what I know and what I'm not able to do or things I know about. So I was giving Chris Layton some advice on something that he was doing when we were going over, and he's a hell of a nice guy. And Tommy, of course, I was just talking to him about Johnny Winter and all the playing that they did. And Stevie was just chilling out, and we got over there. We did the first set, same thing, and the place was packed. And it was time to do the second set, and we'd opened up, done our opening set for that, and the stage was right above our green room, and Stevie's backstage room was just down the hall, and there was a bathroom between our green room and their backstage room with a can right in the middle. So we finished doing the second opener, and we're going, "Oh boy, that's crazy. Oh boy." And then all of a sudden my roadie comes running up to me and says, Al, come quick, it's Stevie." So I said, what? So I come running up, we go in the bathroom, and here's Stevie laying face down with his face in the urinal, like, right by the mint, the mint tablet there and the thing, the Stetson knocked off, his pants covered with water, I guess. And we go, "Jesus Christ, he's down." So we pick him up one on either side. We got him between us and he's just soaking wet. And we take him down the hall and we take him to his, down to the room, their room at the end of the hall. And the road manager takes him in, and I think Chris Layton or Tommy says, "Yeah, okay, we got him, guys. We're going, is he okay? And they go, no problem. They close the door and they push him. We're going like, holy shit, hope he's going to be okay. There's like maybe 900 people in the Royal Theatre sitting up there right now, right? We're going, holy shit, what are we going to do? We might have to go out and play again. Oh shit, yeah, we might have to do it. So I start writing another set and whatever, and I think, oh man, that's crazy. I hope he's going to be okay. Like what happened? So suddenly I hear playing upstairs because it's right above my head. It's right up the stage. It's right above us, and I hear him playing. And I'm thinking, are they stupid enough to be putting on a cassette tape of Stevie Ray for the poor people that paid money? Right? And I go up the stairs and I climb up and I pull the curtain away. And there's Stevie Ray. He's on the stage and he's playing. And I swear to God, I've never heard anybody play. I've never heard him play like that ever again. He was just beside himself, lit up and playing everything, not faster, but stronger and more on it. And just like, whoa, he's just like a tornado. So I went, that's unbelievable. So everybody came to me and said, what's going on? I said, that's him. He's up there. I don't know how they did that. So everybody charges upstairs, stands by the monitors, and they're watching the show. I sneak back down the stairs and I go down the hall and the door's open at the back. So I go down, I open the door and I go, there's nobody around. And I go in and I look on the table and I'm just looking and I can see there's a FedEx bag, red and white, ripped open. And there's what looks like 2 ampules, like what kind of thing you take a shot out of, ampules sitting on the thing. I couldn't make out, and I was just getting up to see where it was from. I think it said Montreal, Quebec was the address where it came from. And I don't know to this day what it was. And all of a sudden I heard somebody coming. So I charged out and I left and I went. So I don't have any idea what it was. It could have been vitamin C, could have been adrenaline, it could have been insulin. He could have been diabetic. Maybe he was diabetic and he had a diabetic coma. I hope it's something like that. But whatever they got him, put him back on Earth again. And he played unbelievable. Wow. Now, I've never told that story because I don't want to make it sound like sour grapes or anything like that. But yeah, he was monstrous, great talent. We said goodbye from that as well. And since then, that's probably like 30 years ago, I still run into people that were at one of those shows. One time, Jack Lavin and I were hanging around Victoria, and I think we played somewhere like Harpo's or something. And we were walking, and so the next day we went out on the street in the daytime just to hang out. We walked into this music store. And this young guy that was working at the music store just blurts out, goes, "Hey, you the guy that opened up for Stevie Ray Vaughan, aren't you?" I'm going like, "Yeah, were you there?" I said, "Yeah, I was there. It was a great show." I said, "Which show did you see?" He said, "I saw the first show." I said, "Oh, you should have seen the second show. It was like crazy good." But yeah, it was great to be with them and be around him. He did share before when we were in Victoria hanging out. He shared a whole bunch of stuff with me on the guitar. He was just getting ready to do the second album, so he'd been working on Cold Shot, and he was showing me the scrub, how he does the scrub and keeps the scrub going while he changes key, and then he plays solo in between the scrub, And the interesting thing about the scrub that I don't know if you know or anybody else realizes that the scrub doesn't have a key, because he played a lot of songs in E and stuff like that. The scrub is not only resigns itself to E. You scrub. The scrub is the scrub, right? So you can be playing B and scrub and do, and you're basically just like a piano player does comps like this. You're scrubbing like that, right? When you're holding the rhythm, especially in a power trio, you kind of have to hold those things together. But what happens is that the beat falls behind if you don't push and stay on top of it. The band will start slowing down because of that, right?
Yeah, especially if the drummer follows you.
If the drummer starts doing the flat tire shuffle, the whole band's going off the road. Jesus, all right, what's going on? Yeah, something like that.
Oh fuck, I've been there. Yeah,
but yeah, that was a great show. If I think of stories, I know we were talking about stories, and I did listen to you and JW, which was really cool to listen to him talk about drumming, because I drum as well, and I learned to play the drums at the Yale Jam. Basically, I did 7 years down there when Jack Lavin kind of invited me down to be a guest, and I loved it so much that every time he asked me, I would say sure, and then basically he was hiring me for gigs with Pee Wee Creighton and Big Joe Duskin, and opening gigs with Taj Mahal, and Tim and I always got along great. So, collapsing the House Rockers at some point is what I did. And I went over to play, and then eventually did the Wailin Demons, and Dave Vidal was involved with us. And that's where I learned how to play drums and a lot of other things, because you're constantly backing people and you get thrown into a position. There's no bass player, so get up there. There's no drummer, so get up there. And that went hands in hand with who we were backing at the Yale. 1 minute we were, I was playing drums, and I had Chris Norquist who taught me. I had Al Forsyth, the late Al Forsyth, who taught me. Adam Drake. As soon as these guys knew, Ray Ayotte from Ayotte Drums, he actually gave me a set of drums. He said, "I want you to have these, because I'm sponsoring you, and I want you to have these drums," because I was playing some gigs with Jack on drums, and you'd have Willie McCalder on one side of you, and you'd have Jack on the other side, and Jack on bass, and Jack would always be on the beat, and Willie would kind of stride. And so I'd be between them trying to play. And this was such a learning process because Willie'd be going, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. And Jack would be going, slow down, slow down. That's what you learn. I need to lay it down. I'm laying it down. Y'all follow me. I'm laying it down. You can't be wishy-washy, right? So you learn that kind of, and I always loved Fido de la Parra of Canned Heat, who I've met through Junior Watson. When Junior was playing with him, I met Fido and talked to him, and Richard Innes, of course, which JW talked about, and on bass, Larry Taylor, of course, Jack Lavin, killer bass player. These are great people to learn from and follow. Bruce O'Neill, who well, played with you for years in Texas Storm, right?
Yep.
When he came over and did some playing with me, the first thing I said is, if you're going to learn to play bass, you might as well listen to Jack Lavin and Larry Taylor. That's who you need to listen to. I love Fido on the drums, and I love Fred Below, so I listened to that, and I had Daryl Burgess as well, was another drummer who just took his time with me. And Daryl Burgess was a monstrous studio drummer and songwriter, etc. And we'd be playing the evening with something, and he would just say, "Hey, Al, I'm going to play piano for a minute." He played drums. And I'd put the guitar down, he'd play the piano. He's a great piano player, and I'd play drums. For Daryl Burgess, letting me play drums, feeling good enough. Same with Too Loud McLeod. He was a great drummer, and he would never play guitar with us, but he'd always come and sit in with us, and he'd play drums because he loved playing drums. So when you play drums, it helps you come up with the groove of what you're going to write your song to. You got to do that. That comes from years and years of recording and Porta Studio, and back in the early 70s, Porta Studios, I always say I'm really good at playing with myself because you learn how to play the bass to that. You learn how to get the drums, and then you write the song. And that's how I wrote the stuff for Long John Baldry, that the two songs that Baldry had on his album. I wrote those just sitting around at Porter Studio. I have a problem with writing songs. I'm constantly listening. You're probably the same. Constantly listening for that hook, that little thing that happens. Makes it really hard to live with me. My wife, Dawn, my head is always somewhere else. I hear something ring or something, and my head is always somewhere else. And I've gotten used to it over the years. After doing it for 50 years, I better know how to multitask at least, right? But I'm constantly thinking of new ideas. And back in the day, it was worthwhile because you'd always be thinking that you'd be writing that hit, either for yourself or for somebody else. And now, because of the music industry situation, it's kind of hard to write for somebody anything. Because, they've got 19 people writing one song for somebody, and it sounds just like another song. But, things have changed a lot in that regard. But I got to tell you a story about, you talk about stories on the road. We were playing together a few weeks back, and I was teasing the crowd and telling them the story, that I was going to tell them the story of the burning girl. Do you remember that?
No, where was that? The burning girl. Was I involved in this?
Out the Dudney outside. And I said, I'm going to tell you the story. Maybe I'll tell you the story of the girl who caught on fire. What? Well, we did a thing in 1980. We went up to Boston Bar. My brothers in the Satan's Angels, we all went up there, and we were protesting the helmet law because that's when they were bringing in the helmet law. Up until that time, we didn't have a helmet law. So we all rode up there, and the House Rockers were going to play the music. And so we set up a stage up on the reserve up there on the hill just before Boston Bar, set up the stage, and the evening, everybody got situated. In the evening, we started playing, and we did the first set, and everybody was dancing, and we just had a grass area for dancing. And I had taken up an old helmet of mine, and I thought, well, at the right time, if I get a chance, I'm gonna light it on fire. So, like helmet laws suck, right? Light the helmet on fire. So between the first and second set, I went and I checked the generator, filled the generator up so we had power to run the music, and we were playing. It was about, I don't know, maybe 300 people there or more. Everybody partying away, drinking and getting crazy. Everybody was staying over. Nobody was driving really, but everybody was staying over, and we were going to have the next day, we're going to have the lawyers, we're going to do the big talk, about, fighting the helmet law. So on the break, I filled the helmet that I brought with gasoline so that it would burn well when I lit it on fire. So when we were, what I didn't realize was that we did the second set, and now it was time for the third set, and the helmet was there. And then just before we started, we played about 3 or 4 songs, and we were doing a song in the nighttime. While we were playing that, I had the helmet sitting there, I had the lighter and everything, and I lit the helmet on fire and I pushed it out. And I was singing, in the nighttime, that's the right time, that's the right time. And the smoke was billowing across the stage towards Chris, the bass player. Billowing, and he couldn't see, and he was getting so frustrated, and the smoke was all in his face, and this thing is burning, and it's a helmet, and it's half full of gasoline. So oh my God, so he can't get out of the way, so one of the road guys comes running and kicks it.
Oh no.
Kicks it off the stage, right? To help Chris out, kicks it off the stage, and the thing goes whoosh right on this girl who's on the dance floor. She's right on the dance floor, and she goes up in flames. And all you hear is me going, put her up, dun 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 dun, put her up, get her up, dun 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 dun, put her up, get her up. And they got her on the ground, and everybody's kicking dirt on her, and they put the flames out almost immediately, And in the nighttime, and then we stop, dead silence, and she's laying there, and there's just like this fumes coming off of her, and she's covered with dirt, but the fire's been put out. She's okay. But she went up like a torch. I was right there. She was right there. And she went, whoa, like Johnny Torch, right? And I was like, oh my God, dead silence. And they picked her up. She could walk. They took her away. Her hair was fine. She didn't look too bad, but she was covered with dirt. Maybe that was a good thing. And they took her away. And as she went away, she was screaming something. And
Help.
Took her. Yeah, help. Took her to the Boston Bar Hospital, right? So I'm standing there and I'm looking, and I am in shock. And I'm just looking like this. So Rex, the drummer, he goes, Al, what song do you want to do? And I looked at him and I went, Fire, Jimi Hendrix. Do. You don't care for me. I don't care about that. Let me stand next to you, fire. That's the girl in the fire. That's the fire story anyway. The girl who got lit on fire.
Fuck, that's crazy, man. That, what you're saying, I'm laughing the whole time that you're saying this, and I'm thinking, man, people are going to look and go, what a fucking asshole this guy is. And I had to look up this meme just now because, we all talk about boomers and millennials and Gen Z. So I'm going to read this one to you here, this meme,
Okay.
right? And the question is, am I fat? And boomers are like, well, you could lose a few pounds. And millennials are, no, you're beautiful. And Gen Z, we don't body shame. Of course you're not, right? And Gen Xers, which is my generation, are like, I know 5 fat people and you're 4 of them.
Yeah. I mean, comedy is not what it used to be now. You really, politically, you have to watch everything you say, everything all the time. And, what can you do? What can you say? But, there's been some pretty funny tales that have happened. I guess if you want to hear, I'll tell you about Mitch Mitchell, because that was probably the most incredible situation I've ever had. We were opening for Randy Hansen, the Jimi Hendrix impersonator, but Randy goes beyond impersonating because he doesn't just do Purple Haze and all along the Watchtower, as you've probably seen him before. He does things that are like Power to Love and Who Knows and he'll delve. I heard him this one particular. We did 2 shows with him on 2 different nights, and he did 1983 a merman I would be, which is a 23-minute one side, almost a full side of Electric Ladyland, and he did it note for note, right? Wow. Note for note. So it was like, man. So anyway, we opened up for them, and they got on him, and he had a bass player. I think the guy's name's Larry from the Coast to Coast Blues Band was on bass. And Randy was doing his Jimi Hendrix part with his, his wig on and everything like that. And the drummer was getting ready, and they started Stone Free. So it was like doom dee dun 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 dun. And the drummer was going like, oh geez, oh he's looking around like, and he's not starting to play. And so then he leaves. He opens the curtains up and he actually leaves. And Randy's playing the intro to Stone Free, and he's looking around, and he keeps playing, and the bass player's looking, and the drummer's nowhere to be seen. So we're all thinking, and I'm on the side of the stage, right? And right by the monitors on the stage, just off the stage, and I'm watching, and I'm going, drummer's an idiot. What the fuck's he doing? So I'm watching, and then finally the drummer comes on. He's got these spectacles, and he's putting them on his head like that, and you can't see, and he's going like that, and he comes and he starts playing, going, oh man, that's terrible. They do the song, whatever, do the next song, and after a while, I'm going like, that guy is pretty good though. He really is quite good. He's really got the Mitch Mitchell thing down, And then I looked and I went, fuck, that's Mitch Mitchell. It is Mitch Mitchell's fucking playing drums. That's Mitch Mitchell, the original drummer of the Jimi Hendrix Experience, of course. Oh my God. And then they played 1983. Of course, he knew it. Fuck, he was the guy who played on it, right? So I couldn't wait till between like that show, and then we were going to play the next night. It wasn't 2 shows in a row. So I went there and I said, oh, Mitch. And he said, so Mitch said to me, you guys are fantastic. I love you guys, in his English accent. I said, I couldn't believe it. He said, oh, I had to have me specs. I needed me specs. I couldn't see the set list without me specs. That's what he went back into the green room to grab his glasses. So, man, I can't believe it. This is fucking unbelievable. So we yacked. He was, just getting tired. And I said, well, look, tomorrow, what are you doing tomorrow? Because, I got a jam session at the Yale, but I can get out of that probably. You want to go for lunch and hang? He said, yeah, sure. So I said, I'll meet you here at 12 o'clock noon. So I called Jack and I said, hey, bud, I got this opportunity. I can't make the jam tomorrow. I got this thing. And Jack said, hey, no problem. Go for it. Do your thing. So I got there at noon, picked him up. We went out for a quick lunch and we sat and talked for 7 hours, me and Mitch. Wow. And while we were talking, I don't have the guitar here. It's packed away. But while we talked, he had an ice pick and he carved his name in the back of my Stratocaster. I got a 69 cream Stratocaster, just like the one Hendrix played at Woodstock. And he just like chiseled his name, Mitch Mitchell, into the back as we talked, right? And he had just finished the manuscript for his book, which was about Jimmy dying as well as other things. Because he was really unhappy about what happened and how that happened. And when they brought him out and they laid him on his back and he basically threw up and then choked on it. And the regular, the formal way to deal with somebody when they have been vomiting is to always lay them on their side so that they can expel and not choke laying down. And Hendrix was just put on his back. Among other things, he was very politically driven to do something about that and about their manager and all the things that have come out since. And the coolest thing that he told me about that I remember, because there was a lot, we talked about, just drumming and his main influences and everything like that. And the biggest thing that came from that was talking about the recording of Cry of Love, the final album that came out after Hendrix passed away. It came out after he was dead. And that's what he'd been working on when he died. So what he said basically, which was unbelievable, was that Eddie Kramer called him in and Eddie had patched everything together best he could, but he needed Mitch to play over everything again and redo everything and come and basically play without Jimmy. Now, something that Mitch told me was that him and Jimmy did 90% of Jimmy's writing and recording was done with just him and Jimmy. They would work together, just the drums, and Jimmy would do it. And he'd either add the bass himself later, or Noel would come and play later, but he would do the song and work it all out with Mitch. So, of course, this is what he had been doing with Cry of Love. So you're talking about songs like Angel and Freedom and Easy Rider and Drifting and Nightbird Flying High. Incredible. I mean, Nightbird Flying High is like, I think it's got 32 track guitars on it, as you probably know. It just it goes and goes. It's like a symphony of guitars. I mean, it's never been done since. Nobody else would, I don't think anybody would care to listen to anybody else doing it, but Hendrix does it so tastefully. But it's Eddie Kramer's production and his ability to think with Jimmy so tightly. And so he was able to piece together everything. And then he asked Mitch to come in and play on it. And I'm going, I said, are you telling me that you went in and played on that stuff after it was put together, like without a drum track, and you played what Eddie Kramer stitched together? And he went, yeah. It's kind of like a Frankenstein when you think about it, right? Yeah. I went, fuck, I said, you did a really good job. But when you listen to Cry of Love now, with that in your mind, and you listen, you can hear how he probably said, roll it back. I just got to get this fill in the right place. Roll it back. I got to get this right, you know? So what's happened now, which just lights it up for me and anybody else that knows the story, Eddie Kramer just, you know, dug into the vaults and he put out an album called Electric Lady, which just came out like 3 months ago. And evidently there's going to be a movie as well with it. The Hendrix family is going to put out. But I've been listening to it. My son hit me to it, and it's on Spotify, and you can listen to it. And it's got all the tracks from Cry of Love, stuff that's been put together, stuff that hasn't been put together, and you can listen to it. Now you can listen to the demos and everything along with that. And it's unbelievable for me to listen to it because it's like, it's Mitch talking. It's just like, to me, it's just like, oh my God, this is what he was dealing with. Oh, listen to Drifting right here. This is a different bridge section, right? They spliced this, they chopped this, they moved it together. And now you can see the genius of Eddie Kramer as he took that tape and he spliced it and made the songs knowing what Jimmy wanted in a song like Angel or Drifting, right? So it's pretty amazing from a production standpoint to listen to that. And that's what makes that album just phenomenal to listen to.
For sure. Especially in that era when it wasn't as easy to
it was all
do
physical
some of that
work.
Stuff. Yeah,
it wasn't
exactly.
Cut and paste. It was cut and paste, you know.
Yeah, like literally razor blade.
Barrett do that, right?
Yeah, with the razor blades and shit. Yeah, it's
razor blades, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny deal.
So tell us, I was going over your website here and looking, like you just got like, you know, miles of guys that you've played with, and you've mentioned a few of them. And one of them well known in the area and internationally, Jerry Doucette.
Yeah. Oh, nothing but tales, for road tales, like crazy. 10 years from 2008 to 2018, toured extensively with Jerry, and a lot of great things because Jerry encapsulates the joy of music and the misery of the business. The story of Jerry Doucette is unbelievable, what that man went through and what he did. And I played with him, like I say, for 10 years, you know, James, and that man, he never made an error. He never slipped up once. He always played like on his game all the time. And I always chased him. There was times when the two of us would just battle. Paul Kite can tell you the same thing. Just never dropped, always played the things. And there's things that he does that he's told me numerous times how he did and how he picks. There's a down, up, down, 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 up, down, up thing in the picking thing that he does, which you can hear in all kinds of his solos. The songwriting's killer. His voice was always there. He had a lot of anxiety before he played. Once he was playing, just like that. talk people with a just instant talk with people on the stage, talk from the stage, have everybody laughing, relaxed, get off the stage, do what he has to do, sign autographs, and then the next day back into the anxiety again until it's time to play again. So, you know, the story of Jerry Doucette is the one that we all should know. And I don't know if we'll ever run into it anymore with the way the music scene is now, but you know, in a nutshell, a man has a number one song on the radio being played coast to coast. I always call it dropping the 49th parallel, which many Canadian artists never do. And they were down there. They had a tour with the Doobie Brothers all set up to go ahead in 1977, and had a manager, everything. They were on the same label as Heart. Well, look where Heart ended up. Jerry Doucette his album was coming out at the same time. I think their album was in the same warehouse, and all ready to go, all systems ready to fire. And Shelley, their manager, died of a heart attack. Fuck. And terrible thing that Shelley passed away. Everybody grieved, and then they went back to business. They didn't have anybody to do what needed to be done, so they got somebody else in there. That guy dropped the ball and I think absconded, possibly stole something, but dropped the ball one way or the other. Jerry picked the ball up, tried to do it himself. And from that point, he didn't really trust anybody, and he had no reason to trust anybody. And from there, you know, that's the story right from there. A man that had it all and then just this thing that was out of his control happens. And he's just a genius of a songwriter and a genius of a guitar player and singer. And this happens, right? So, I've known Jerry for a long time. We played Angel Acres together. He played with Danny Tripper for years. And we hung out all the time. Always had nice things to say to one another. Always respected the man. And then it just came up that we're looking for a guitar player. And Marco was playing drums with him, so Marco said, "Would you want to do it?" And I said, "Sure, what the hell?" So Jerry said, "Are you sure you want to do it? You got your own band and everything going on. You know, you're Wailin Walker." And I said, "No, let's do it." So I got in there, and boy, I had a gas. And we were, I got to play in Toronto and all in Ontario and Winnipeg and stuff, and people would be coming up and wanting autographs, of course, from Jerry, and then they'd be going, no, I want Al Walker's autograph. I'd be like, really? You know who I am? And yeah, these people knew who I was, and it was really cool to kind of get out of BC and actually, go out there and play with him, because, it's still like that right now. If you have a classic rock hit or two or three, and he had 4 or 5, you can play the casinos, basically. You can travel the casinos. I don't even know what's going on with that. But that last 10 years from 2008 to 2018, he was playing the casinos and he had lots of work in that regard. And it slowly petered out, and, that was good. And unfortunately, he got ill at the end, but that man never dropped a note, not once the time I played with him, And yeah, we got road stories for sure, from, playing Fort McLeod in the middle of winter, and we've done the show, and I'm passed out on the bed, and he knocks on the door and says, "Hey, Al Walker, let's go." I said, "What? Let's go? I'm sleeping." He said, "Come on, get up. The rooms are filthy. We got to get out of here right now." So I get up, I open the door. He said, "Look at your back," and I look, my back, I've got some wolfhound hair all on my back. There's somebody let their dog sleep on the bed, I guess, and I was laying on top of the blanket, and the whole back of me was covered like I was a mule or something. So we got to be in I don't know where we're Lethbridge. We had to go to Lethbridge, and it's like 2 a.m, and it is snowing hard, right? And yeah, I had a few too, because I didn't expect to be driving, and I said, "I'll drive rather than you." And so here we're on our way to Lethbridge. Get to Lethbridge, call ahead some bar and say, "We'll be open for you when you get here." Okay, we get there 2 a.m. Lo and behold, the servers have been called back. The stereo's on, everything's playing, the bar's open, and we just drank all night. We drank till the morning, and that was it. Another time, Marco and I were heading back from no, this isn't the rock shop one where I'm walking with my guitar case on the side of the burning road. Marco and I are heading back from Kamloops. We'd played the Grotto the night before, 3-nighter, I think. And we came out of there the next morning, and we just beat the snow. It was February. And we were on the Vancouver side of Hope. And blasting along, just, going along at about 80 clicks and 90 clicks maybe. And I'm in my Ford Explorer, and we're blasting along and just driving along talking and everything. And then on the opposite road, going the other way on the freeway, this guy must have hit, it's raining like crazy, by the way, just pouring rain. He must have hydroplaned, hit a big puddle. And he was in a 240Z. And wow. There was a median between us, quite a big median of grass between us and the other road. And we were coming along, and we looked, and we're going along like this. And this guy is cutting across the grass. He's lost control, and he's plowing into the median. And it's shooting up like grass and turf. It's just shooting up from the car. And he's doing about 100K. And he's just coming right at us, and we're going, and I'm accelerating. I'm starting to move out to the fog lane a bit, but I'm accelerating. The car's going as fast as it can. I got it matted. I'm holding it. And then when his car's halfway through the median, it flips over onto the roof. It goes 180 right on the roof, and now it's coming upside down towards us. Ah, shit! And we go, and I'm waiting for him to hit our back and spin us. And we just go, oh, boom. And we keep going. He missed us.
Oh, shit.
Holy shit. I look at Marco. I said, do you think we should stop? And Marco goes, fuck no. So we keep on going. We get back. And I get back. And I still have that same vehicle. I still drive that vehicle, and it's got a big hole in the grill, and it's got scratches from all the turf and the shit that got blown up, and that just missed us. He just missed our tail, and he would have spun us for sure if he hit us. T-boned it, it would have been worse, right? We would have rolled for sure. So we beat that. And we've been through numerous other close incidents, driving incidents, Marco and I. One time we were on the Malahat, and we were going from Victoria up to Drunken Duncan to play. And we're coming up the Malahat, and the guy coming the other way lost control and went in front of me, and the guy in front of us lost control and went across, and they missed each other and went around us, and the guy that came at us, he went into the ditch, and we went right through the middle of them. It's like, what? And I said to Marco at that time too, it was about 2 years before, I said, should we stop? And Marco went, fuck no. So don't even ask Marco. He'll his answer right away.
Yeah. And
I totally agreed with him too. Anyway, 4 months later, I decided, I should really get a claim on my car, because that wasn't my fault, right? That wasn't my fault. I should be able to get my car fixed, right? So I phoned up ICBC, and I told them, I said, yeah, it was mid-February. It was raining. It was the third week of February, 4 months ago. And she looks it up, and she said, oh, okay, well, I don't think you're covered. I said, well, I should be, because it wasn't my fault. She said, yeah, but the damage, you've got damage. I said, yeah, I know I've got damage, but I didn't do it. But she said, yeah, but who did? I said, well, this other car, he did it. Well, there's been no report, so you don't really have a claim. You have to pay the deductible. I said, no, I don't. It's not my fault. So I fell into that zone of weirdness right there. Anyway, she goes, oh my God. I said, what? Oh, well, there's critical injury here. What? Oh, I said, what happened? Well, he died. I said, really? He said, yeah. Yeah, he went over the, there's an overpass there. He went down the overpass, and then he hit, and he passed away.
Holy shit.
Oh. I mean, I thought, well, he almost killed me, so I don't know, but maybe it wasn't his fault. It was speeding or something. But anyways, yeah, that's the end of that one. So,
literally.
Yeah. Yeah. The life on the road, man,
Yeah.
Saying, when you were out with Russell, you guys totaled one, right?
Yeah. A couple times.
It happens, you got to be at somewhere the next morning to do a show, and there's no getting away from it. When you got to travel like that, you got to get going.
Yeah, it's
I'll tell you a
legitimately
funny story. Sorry.
No, I was saying, yeah, like legitimately the show must go on. The first time I had just joined with Russell, and I remember my dad was like, okay, well, take care of him. And it was literally the first tour. We were starting in Fernie, and we rolled the van in Grand Forks and
Oh,
wrote the fucking thing off. And we wound up in there's four of us. So we wound up in it. No gear was broken except for some of his basses. So we were like, okay, this is an omen. I'm not going to quit the band because I was ready to go home.
Right.
And we rented a 3-seater pickup truck, threw all the shit in the back of a pickup truck, and the four of us crammed in there and drove from Grand Forks to Fernie, which was, I don't know, another 5 or 6 hours. And then we played 14 straight nights and had a hotel room with like a sink and no windows.
Oh.
And I thought, and I was 19. I was like, what the fuck am I getting into?
Yeah.
You
Well,
think I
got
would
this
have
to show
quit?
for a big handful of cash,
Yeah,
86 was my
exactly.
biggest year, 1986 for Doe, because Expo was on, of course.
Yeah.
But beyond that, it was like we had every day for 16 weeks. The Fairview was 6 nights, and the Yale was 7 nights. You basically just move in, and your first night was just going over some new material. The Tuesday was an easy night. Wednesday, you're getting ready, and then Thursday you're starting getting ready for Friday, and Saturday's the big night, and then it's Sunday, jam time. But just in '86, it was crazy because we do. I was working too. We had a shop, 64 employees, so I was working in the daytime, and that was busy because of Expo. All the work, we were involved in the printing industry, so that was crazy. Get off at like 3:30. Go down for 4 o'clock with Joe Duskin for an hour with Jack and Chris Norquist. Play with Joe Duskin down there, and then the Irish Rovers had a place where they were making all that money at the Irish pub at Expo, and I don't know what they were doing exactly, but they had another place down called the Robson Street Grill, and that was down at the foot of Robson, and it was open at night, and then they paid us to come in there at like 1 in the morning until 4 in the morning to play there. And we did that for, I know, 16 weeks straight.
Wow.
Every single day. I mean, I'd come in, the lamplighter was involved, and it was 7 nights. I'd come into work and I'd be walking up the stairs and just holding on to the rail and just looking up and going, oh God, just let me get through the day. I promise I won't do this again. Just get through it. And then you get your steam back and have a nap, and then you do it again. But I always remember it was 86,000 clear cash that I made in 1986. Just from music at all. Bought a lot of Marshalls and a lot of Fender amps and guitars and stuff like that, And then wrote off all the expenses against it, of course, because you've got that to do, because it's all legitimate expense of eating, because you're living it, right? But
Legitimate.
legitimate theft of my money from the tax man. But it's fun to think back about all these tales. I don't know. There must be some other ones here. I told you about the Bruce Iglar coming up to us. I think I told you before you went down to Memphis with the guys. I said, Bruce Iglar, if he comes up to you and says, really like you guys, I'd like to sign you, but I got 2 questions for you. And he pulled that on me. And one question is, can you do 270 nights a year for me, to tour the CD that I put out for you? And of course you're going like, 270 nights a year? Jesus, what killed William Clark, for crying out loud? Why do you think I'd survive it? That was it. So it's funny because I've told like yourself, and I've told Arsene and a couple of other people that went down there. Bruce Iglar is going to come in and he's going to say this to you. And when he does, and he says it to you and he asks you, you look him right in the eye and you say, yes, I will. I'm ready to do 280 nights a year. Let's do it. Put your money where your mouth is. Come on, Bruce.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hilarious. Good guy and everything. He phoned me when The Devil Made Me Play It came out. We just were negotiating with Double Trouble out of the Netherlands to take it on. and glad we did. Actually, they did really good by us. And then he came on there. And then when I put out Buzzsaw Boogie, we had a song in there called "While You're Down There, Do Something Nice for Me." And he had an artist that had the same name song, and he was threatening me that it was the same song. And I said, it's not. Your title just coincidentally is the same, but it's definitely not the same song, you know. So those are my two run-ins with Bruce. Hilarious. Done a lot for the blues, so I've got nothing but praise for him, you know, for what he's done for the industry as well.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the state of the industry? I know we've talked like things are a bit different, and you know, you what you're making in 86 at that time could almost buy you a house just in the 1 year, which would be in some, like making $1 million this year.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's insane. The biggest thing that I have to say about the music industry is outside of the fact that streaming doesn't make any money, and we can all attest to that. But it's hard to sell songs now, like I was talking about earlier. But the biggest problem is I think the love is not there anymore. And what I mean by that is and I got a story I can tell you about that to give an example, but when a vinyl or cassette or anything like a CD even would be put out, the person would take it home, they'd put it in their car, and they'd be driving around, and then they'd stop somewhere and they'd get out, and it would be maybe their favorite song would be on there, and they'd jump in the car, and the song would just automatically come on. They go, I love that song, Baby, or I love that song, you know, While You're Down There, that's my favorite, and it would come on, and they'd fall in love with your music, basically, you know, and they'd fall in love with other music and whatever they were listening to. But now, you know, you get into the car and you've got a palette of whatever you want to listen to. And Spotify's on there. And now you've got to choose, what am I going to listen to now that I'm going to drive? What am I going to listen to? And you don't have that instant love of that album. So the story I have to tell about is, the story I have to tell you about that is we had a promotional girl. My drums are ringing here. My cymbals are ringing. We had a girl named Leslie, and she was going to promote the Buzzsaw album, and the owner of the record company had been phoning her 3 or 4 times and asking her what's going on with you know, the promotion of Wailin Walker. And she said, I've got the CD sitting on my desk, but I haven't had a chance to listen to it. It's just been sitting there. And he said, well, when are you going to listen to it? Well, I've got other stuff to do, and you know, I'm just not into it right now. You know, I said, well, we're going to pay you $2,000. You know, the record exec said. She said, well, I'll try to get to it. And it sat there for 6 months. And finally, she phoned him up and said, oh my God. She said, I was cleaning some stuff off of my desk, and I was going to clean my office as well. And I found the CD that you sent me like 5 months ago. And I threw it in the player while I cleaned up my office. And she listened to Buzzsaw. And she loved it. And she put it on again. And she played it again. She said, this is the best music for cleaning my thing. And she took it home. She cleaned her house to it. And she played it all the time in her car. And she got on, I think she promoted the thing, and we got airplay in Australia. We got on the I think they called it swag or something like that. It's the dance thing down the East Coast of America. They were dancing and stuff and listening to they had a hit parade. So the album did really good, and it made it over to Europe and Spain, got playlists in Spain, because she got off her tail kind of and put the boost to it. But it's all because she put it on. She just put it on, you know. So now, you can get your song sent off to the Junos and just upload it so they can listen to it right there and send them links and things. It's a lot easier than wrapping CDs, mailing them, getting the stickers, sticking them on, everything. But who's really listening to it? What incentive do we have to make these things? Just to put another award up on if you can get an award, which seems to be the kiss of death as well. If you get an award, suddenly then they really forget about you.
Yeah.
I've never had an award outside of people patting me on the back, which is nice, you know, but Yeah, I think the state of the music industry is quite poor, and I'm glad to be still playing. It's the reason why we're doing our own gigs. I mean, after 50 years, I'm still doing my own gigs, putting on my own promotions, because it's kind of like where I see it. I get to play what I want to, and I get to play it for the people that want to hear it.
Yeah.
Which is what JW was talking about too. There's something in that. We want to
Mhm.
play the big places to a lot of people and get our music out there. But when I think of the love of the music is really probably the biggest thing that bothers me. It's just not there. I had a lady the other day, I gave her a CD like that. She went, "Oh, sorry," she gave it back to me. She said, "I don't have a CD player." I thought, well, what? Use it as a frisbee then. Like make it a
Yeah.
coaster or something, but don't insult me by, I spent 9 months making this and you're just going to hand it back to me because, it doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah.
in a way, I hope CDs come back one day so that we have CDs. I know vinyl's trying to make its way back,
Yeah.
but
Music seems to have like, there's no value in it anymore. People don't, it's everywhere. And yeah,
yeah,
like you say, you stream and people's like, it's like ADHD, you, you can't turn on the radio and hear anything but the same 12 songs, but then you go to Spotify and there's like 12 billion songs. You don't know what it's like. I find it when I want
yeah,
to watch, I find time to watch a movie and I'm like, hey, I'm going to watch a movie. What do I want to watch? I turn on Netflix and, like 45 minutes later, I still haven't found a fucking show. And I'm like, well, I don't
yeah,
have time to watch a show now. I didn't even watch
it's
anything,
done.
but like click through shit. Right.
It's
And
true.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it's
it's
true.
totally
And
fucked up.
your time is just as important as it always was. We run out of time. I started out this morning, and before I knew it, it was 5 minutes to 5, and we were going to start talking. So you're gunning to get through the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's still still a pleasure to play. And I'm looking back now, with the COVID bullshit that happened and stuff. I really had to sort of, we all did. We all are sitting back and looking at things differently, and got a lot of critical thinking. And I know a lot of my musician friends are critical thinkers, and it's because of learning music. When we learn or learn licks or learn to play another instrument or learn to sing the words or remember the words of songs and repeat things over and over again to get the lick or whatever you're learning, that makes us think critically, because you're trying to learn, you're trying to listen to something and focus on it and see what's going on there. That has sort of permeated the rest of my things, from wrenching on cars to riding motorcycle to just having relations with my spouse, fixing things around the house, everything that I do. So I'm a
Mhm.
stock trader. I do that. Any business relations that I still have, the way I ran my business, it was the same thing. I ran my business just as if I was, taking care of learning, writing a set list for tomorrow night's gig. Right order, right song, right feel, put it in place. It's like
Mhm.
music, that statement about music and the savage beast. Music soothes the savage beast. It definitely soothes me, because I'm at my best when I'm entertaining people, because I love entertaining. I love playing. I feel good when I see people dancing and breaking the bar records. People going off with sprained wrists from shoveling beer because they can't get out to the people soon enough. That makes me happy. I love seeing people having a good time, and that's when I feel the best. When I don't play for a while, it comes out in me, because my other way is, I'm an East Vancouver guy, and I get pissed off with shit, right? But if I'm playing, I get to burn off the energy, and I feel good. So that I'm a better person because of music. There's no doubt about it. So I have to keep playing somehow,
Yeah.
and doing our own VIP club that we started helps do that. To keep it around so that we can do stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going to be a guest of ours, as a matter of fact.
I am, and by the time people are watching this, that the show's going to be tomorrow. But for
That's
us, it's
right.
like, it's like next week. But yeah, I can
Next
totally
week.
relate, because when COVID hit, I kind of said to myself, you know what? I found myself in a position working business wise, and bit of a computer geek in many senses. I was like, man, I don't need music to survive. My whole life, I'd kind of, tried to make money and made money with music. And then I thought, fuck it. It was so political and everything was so crazy that I was kind of like, I don't even care if I play again. And now that we've kind of come out of that, like my conversation with J-Dub and now with yourself was like, yeah, we promote our own things. And, we've all done those shows for big crowds and stuff. And sometimes I find it's way more enjoyable when I'm in a small, intimate pub and it's packed because it only holds 40 people, but there's like 50 or 60 people there. And it's just like seems like a crazy shit show, but it's fun. And the people that are there love it. I'd rather play for 40 people that are so into it than 500 people that are like tuned out.
They're tuned out. Yeah, that's exactly right. No, I get what you're saying for sure. And these opportunities come. I felt that after everything opened up again, I was the same. I kind of just fell off the face there. I knew it would come back, but everybody was really scared when it first came out. For whatever reason, everybody's still quite scared about the politics and everything going on. There's a real division of things. One, A's and B's. There's always that, and we've got that here in British Columbia as well. But that's fine. I mean, I've got a friend of mine is a quantum physicist. He's a PhD, and he's just turned his whole back on all of the scientism entirely, and passed on information to me about it. And it's very refreshing to see that make your life simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple.
I'm working, I work in marketing, and I'm working with a company right now called the Wellness Company. And they do that. They have guys like, Peter McCullough and Drew Pinsky, these guys that kind of, went against some of the mainstream narrative of how things go. And it's a supplement company, and it does very, very well for itself. It just gives people the options that, they want to do. And, we've had our offline discussions on all these kind of things, which is great, but our clock is running thin right now. But I'm on your site here. So for those watching, I know we have a gig on November 9th, which for us right now at this recording is in a week. WailinWalker.com is your website, and there's a calendar link there, which we do see our event, but that's where you put all your events. People can buy your music if they buy music these days.
Everything's there at WailinWalker.com. They can buy the music, and they can VIP club. They can sign up and be notified to the next dance. We try to do 4 dances a year. This is the first year we've done it, and this will be the 4th dance for this year. It's been very successful. We're still looking for the right charity to donate to, which will happen. I've had a couple. I really like the idea of that drug
testing. I got a charity for you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look,
James
I just put,
Rogers?
Yeah, it's to help James get a brand new Ferrari fund.
Oh, good. I'll put you on the list with all the others.
I got this. Hold on a sec. I got this weird fucking camera that, like, I put my hand up and then it like changes.
Oh, it focuses on you.
Oh yeah, it totally focuses on me. Weird. So now, like, you can see me turning around here. I got a little controller on it. I'm trying to be high tech, but
I can't move. Still.
I can't wave around. I don't even know if I can say that word anymore.
Oh, you can't say anything like that anymore. But maybe that's a good thing.
I might have to edit that out if I've got time.
It's so weird. It's like, I forget what I was going to say, but anyway, it's we got to get together again. I wanted to tell you about my dad and all the stuff he did in South Africa when he was a talent scout for Decca back in 1955 and 54. He was doing he was a talent scout, and he came along and was inspired and found the guy who did a song called Mboobi, which turned into The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and got sent to London. Anyway, so just a whole bunch of older stuff we can talk about another time for sure.
Yeah,
I like the way Jack Lavin ran everything down. He gave you the chronologically. Here's my life basically right here. Right?
Yeah.
And I thought, Jesus, You didn't even talk about Otis Rush. You didn't even talk about us playing with Otis Rush, and I haven't talked about him either. Isn't
I
that weird?
know.
I haven't mentioned him at all. It
Well,
was probably the biggest highlight of both of our careers.
and that's good to know because, like I told Jack, I said, we'll do it again. Like
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be a one and done, right? Like there's so many
no,
more things to talk about, and we could have a 10-hour podcast
I
just because,
know. Once
there
you've
is so
loosened,
much.
you
Yeah.
try the first one. You're just trying to get everything out you can to
Yeah.
to make it interesting in a show. And it would be great to just do a podcast and just talk about how we really feel about everything now.
Let,
Because it's every day I'm
let,
hearing stuff that is just wow, this is crazy. It's like don't people look at both sides of the story? Because I try to look at both sides, but it looks
let's,
like everybody's like fixated on one side or the other. They're
oh,
not either
totally.
one's
Totally.
right.
Let's do that then. Let's, after we do our gig on the 9th, we'll have some
Yeah.
more stories to share, but let's do another podcast and we'll crank out, we've been almost an hour and a half here, but let's crank out
Oh
a
wow.
few hours and we can do one. And, some people have told me, oh, talk, tell us how you really feel about things, right? So I think you'd probably be the
Yes.
best guy for us to do that. Like, so
Well,
let's do it on another one.
I agree with what you said with JW, which was, you get guys that, yeah, I'm going to get on there, I'm going to tell everybody this, and I'm going to tell them that, and everything. And then when it's time to get on, they go, well, I don't know, my kids might be watching, or I need to get some.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to get some gigs from so and so. I don't want them to think that I'm a racist or some bloody thing or whatever. So, but the thing is that like I'd like to talk about stuff without going one side or the other. Let's just keep it in the middle, but
Yeah.
still, where does it make sense? Some other people will just tune out if they're not interested, and if they are interested, they'll continue.
Exactly.
You're obviously wanting to do it to get something out of it to keep your make it worth your while to do.
Yeah, I'd be
How
happy.
is it doing, by the way? How are you doing?
Yeah, the podcast is doing good. YouTube kind of throws its traffic in spurts and things like that, and things aren't really monetized. I'm talking with some people behind the scenes on maybe how to make that happen. Right now, I'd be happy if I could break even with what it costs me to have some of the softwares and the tools and things to kind of quickly do this. I always wanted to do a podcast, and years ago I didn't because, you would do a recording like this for an hour or two and it would take me an entire week of full-time work just to edit it together. But now there's technology with AI where, I can record this podcast and I can throw it together pretty quickly and get it out the door, essentially. But again, it's not a full-time gig, right? It's just a thing. But at some point, yeah, hopefully we can get it monetized, and then we can spread that love around for everybody that's on and off the show and make things happen. But yeah, while we wrap things up here, WailinWalker.com. We're playing next week.
Yes.
At the Club 240, where you're doing 4 shows a year now. So go to WailinWalker.com, sign up to the VIP club, and stay tuned for that. You're still doing some shows, so you're getting back into the game a bit more, myself. So I think this whole post-COVID thing, and we'll get on here. Maybe if you got time, even if it's before Christmas, we can get back on and have a few pops on the show. And maybe we'll even try and do the first one where we do it in person. We can set up and just sit face to face over some drinks
and just talk over some drinks.
Talk. Yeah. Tom Lavin, when I worked with Tom Lavin at the studio years ago, we talked about doing that because we spent so many nights drinking single malt whiskeys and, recording shit who knows where it went. And he said, we should just set up mics and talk and just see where it goes. And I thought, that's great. 15 years ago when we were talking about that, it was all good. But nowadays you might wind up in the clank for some of the things you say, right? Well, everyone's so sensitive.
Once you say it, you can't unsay it, right? It's there. But it's like I've gone through being locked down and kind of pissed off, and then got through that and kind of got got under my skin about it, got upset. Now I'm like, I'm just fine with it. It's like, geez, if you're going to do all this nonsense, that's fine. this guy said something that made me think about a year ago. He said, I get up in the morning, every morning, and every day I hear all this stuff that's happening in the world. That's terrible stuff. I get up every morning, I get my cup of coffee, I stand and I look outside. The birds are chirping. The sky is somewhat blue. There's a couple of clouds in the sky and nothing's really happening. No. Then I go back and I watch the news and I hear about all these bombs are blowing up. Everything's going for a shit. And the next day I get up, I get my coffee, I stand at the window, the birds are chirping, the sky's looking pretty good. I'm going to go for a walk. And that's what happens every day. And I started thinking, you know what? That's exactly what happens every day. That's what happens. We have to be concerned about certain things. I think we all agree that cutting down pollution is big. There's things we can all agree on that make sense. And the other things are ideologies, basically. And the way they call them ideology makes them sound like they're idiotic ideas, but that's not what I mean. They're just ideologies. They're different people have got different feelings about it. That's fine. Why don't we just deal with the main things that affect us all, like environmental problems? Not that I'm totally into environmental problems. Exactly.
Money.
I was just listening today of where the government's spending money. You wouldn't believe what they're spending money on. The Taxpayers Association goes through and shows you what the government's been spending money on. Giving all these grants to people to study all this nonsense, right? What are they wasting all the money for? It's crazy.
I know. This is our prelude into our next conversation. We'll get into
it. Shall be.
We'll get into a bit of world news.
But
I appreciate
music-wise, there's a bunch of stuff coming up. Like we've got a live recording at the Smiling Buddha Cabaret that Cecil English did. It's got 12 live tracks with 7 cameras of video and 24 track sound. Sounds incredible that I'm going to put out. I got a guy that wants to do a documentary about me who came to buy a John Lennon style guitar off me the other day. He looks just like John Lennon. He's going to do his thesis and he's considering doing my documentary for his thesis, which will be really cool. And there's the gigs that we're doing, and I'm doing a blues album for next year. I've got a blues album. This last one I did, I should put that all fired up. There it is, all fired up. It's backwards. Yeah, man. That's available, and it's on the website. You can grab it there if you want to listen to it. But doing a blues album for next year, kind of stone blues. It's half in the can, working away at this is the studio. This is Thug Zone. Next time we'll talk about guitars if you want to. I got my there's a big stack of pro juniors all up against the wall, and basements up here. You can't even see them. All you can see is my nonsense that's behind me here, which I don't even know what it is. But anyway, this is where it happens. Thug Zone.
That's good. Yeah, I look forward to playing with you next week, and I'll put your socials. Send me some of your links. I have your website. If it's all on there, I can just grab it off there. I'll put some in the description so people have easy access to getting your albums, your website, sign up for all the good stuff, and let's do this again in the next month.
Let's do it again. Yeah, for sure. There's all kinds of stuff that I can tell you more about for sure.
Awesome,
man.
More
funny stories, that's for sure.
Well, I know you got a lifetime of them for sure. No, I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
Happy to be here, James. Always a pleasure, man.
Okay, well, we'll see you next week.
All right. Looking forward to it.
Cheers.
All right. Bye for now.